fabled heat, where magic meets desire. Subscribe to ignite the fantasy.
The air tasted of burnt metal and ozone, a sickeningly sweet tang that clung to the back of my throat, coating it with grit. Each breath felt like inhaling embers. It wasn't just the air, it was a taste of loss of everything crumbling. I could feel the weight of Alien's gaze, hot and intense on my skin as we huddled together in the cramped space. It wasn't a comforting warmth, not entirely. It was charged. My lungs burned with each ragged breath, a painful reminder of how long we'd been down here, sealed away from the storm. I gripped the shotgun, the cold steel a small, desperate comfort against the rising panic. The metal was slick with a film of sweat, my knuckles white. Outside, Enlil's rage consumed the world. The tremors had started hours ago, subtle at first, then escalating into violent shudders that threatened to collapse the ancient structure around us. Inside, I was suffocating, not just from the stale air, but from the weight of responsibility, trapped in this tomb of my own making. I remembered Nin's promise, the feel of his hand on my cheek, calloused but gentle. The ghost of his touch still lingered, a phantom warmth. "Protect them, Lyra," he'd said, his voice a low murmur, his eyes filled with a sorrow I hadn't understood then. "They are the last hope." Nin tasked me with protecting them, I murmured, my gaze drifting to Alien, then to the lead coffin that held Kale. "And I will." The words felt hollow, a fragile vow against the backdrop of impending doom. I wasn't sure how I would, but I would. I had to. The lead gleamed dully in the flickering emergency light, radiating heat like a living thing. It wasn't a natural heat, it was something else, something ancient and powerful, stirring within. The metal felt strangely pliable, almost breathing. I shivered despite the oppressive warmth. Alien's hand found mine, his fingers lacing through mine, sending a jolt of electricity through my veins. It wasn't the first time our hands had touched, but this felt different, more deliberate, more desperate. His skin was warm, rough against my own, a comforting contrast to the cold steel of the shotgun. "We'll get through this," he whispered, his voice a low rumble that vibrated against my palm, sending shivers down my spine. It was a simple statement, but it held a weight of reassurance I desperately needed. I nodded, my heart aching with a longing I hadn't allowed myself to feel until now. It was foolish, dangerous even to entertain such feelings in a time like this. But Alien, he was a constant, a steady presence in the chaos, a reminder of everything I was fighting for. We had to be strong for Kale, for each other, and for the fragile hope that flickered between us, a tiny flame in the encroaching darkness. I squeezed his hand, trying to convey the emotions I couldn't voice. The tremors started again, stronger this time, shaking the ground beneath our feet. Dust rained down from the ceiling, stinging my eyes, cracks spiderwebbed across the stone walls. "Alien, we need to move," I shouted, my voice tight with urgency, barely audible above the roaring of the storm and the groaning of the ancient structure. Now, but he was transfixed, his gaze locked on the coffin, his breath coming in shallow, ragged gasps. His knuckles were white as he gripped my hand, his strength almost frightening. "It's waking up," he breathed, his voice trembling, a strange mix of fear and something else. Something that mirrored the heat building within me, a primal awareness that sent goosebumps racing across my skin. It wasn't just the fear of what Kale might be or what Enlil's rage might unleash. It was something deeper, something connected to the energy radiating from the coffin. A pull, a resonance. I followed his gaze, my eyes tracing the intricate carvings on the lead. They seemed to shift and writhe in the flickering light, depicting scenes of forgotten gods and ancient battles. A low hum emanated from the coffin, growing in intensity with each passing second. It vibrated through the floor, through our bodies, resonating deep within my bones. "What do you mean waking up?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. I already knew, didn't I? I could feel it. The air crackled with anticipation, thick with a power that both terrified and exhilarated me. Alien didn't answer. He was staring at the coffin as if mesmerized, his eyes wide and unfocused. A bead of sweat trickled down his temple. "He's changing," he finally managed to say, his voice strained. "The energy, it's different." I reached for the shotgun, my fingers tightening around the grip. "We need to be ready for anything." "Ready?" Alien's laugh was hollow, devoid of humor. "Lyra, we have no idea what we're dealing with. Kale, he wasn't just a warrior, he was something more." He paused, his gaze flickering to mine, his eyes filled with a haunted look. Something ancient, something powerful, and now he's awake. The humming intensified, reaching a fever pitch. The lead coffin began to glow, a faint, ethereal light emanating from within. The air grew thick and heavy, making it difficult to breathe. I could feel the power building, swirling around us, threatening to overwhelm us. "Elaine," I said, my voice trembling, "what have we done?" He didn't answer, he simply stared at the coffin, his face a mask of fear and anticipation. The glow intensified, and a single crack appeared on the surface of the lead, spiderwebbing across the metal like a lightning bolt. The tremors reached a crescendo, and the ground beneath our feet began to buckle. This wasn't just a tomb anymore. It was a prison, and something ancient and powerful was about to break free.